In today's video, we're going to look at how you can deal with having an overprotective boyfriend. Having someone care about you and want to protect you and want to look after you can be a really lovely feeling, but having someone being overprotective really isn't that. Having someone being overprotective is controlling and uncomfortable and leaves you feeling as though you're not being properly respected. So we're going to look at how you know that someone's being overprotective and what you can do about it to really get your autonomy back. All right, let's start looking. So, what counts as being overprotective? Someone who's being overprotective and controlling is trying to limit your behavior or manipulate your behavior in a way that you haven't consented to. They might try making decisions that they don't have the authority to make, or behaving towards you in ways that are not really respectful of your decisions, your autonomy, and your individuality. So they might make big public displays of affection that just don't feel quite right. And when you look at it, you realize that actually it feels like they're staking a claim on you. So if they put their arm around you and give you an enormous, great big hug in front of all of your male friends, that can sometimes feel like they just want to give you a hug and that's lovely. But other times it feels like what they're doing isn't about connecting with you. It's about sending a message to your male friends that they'd better stay away. You've been claimed. Now, connecting with you is lovely and fantastic and is perfectly acceptable. Trying to send a message to your friends by hugging or kissing you, that's not okay. That is impinging on your boundaries and it's disrespectful. Someone who is overprotective might not like you spending time with people you love. It might be they don't like you having male friends, but it also might be that they don't like you spending time with your family, or they don't like you hanging out with your best friends, whatever it might be. Again, that's not their decision. Someone who's overprotective will also often want to know where you are all the time. They want to know where you are, what you're doing, who you're with. And they're couching that as it being for your benefit. But if you haven't asked for it, that's not for your benefit. That is them asking something of you. And you are entirely within your rights to say no to that. Having someone ask you to text them when you get home to let them know that you got home safely is absolutely fine, of course. Having someone ask you or expect you to tell them who you're with, what you're doing at work all day, to notify them when you get to work, when you're leaving work, when you arrive home, that's controlling and it's borderline abusive, if not all the way into abuse. So be really careful if you see that happening. Someone who is overprotective will also often tell you what's going on in your life. They will explain to you that your male friends all want to hook up with you or that your boss is trying to hook up with you. They will often be obsessed with the idea that every man you meet wants to hook up with you. And they don't respect your judgment in that matter. They don't ask you, how do you feel? Are you getting that kind of a vibe? They are just telling you, this is how it is, and it's my job to protect you from that. And neither of those things is true. You can ask them to protect you. You can ask them for their help, but they do not have the authority to give it to you without you having asked first. Another example might be that he might go through your phone, go through your personal information, read your emails. It's understandable that he might couch that as, I just want to know so that I can keep you safe. No, absolutely no. That is a fiction. He does not need to see those things. And if he says that you not giving him that information is somehow you not trusting him or you not deserving trust yourself, that is a big warning sign. So now we understand what we mean when we're talking about overprotective. And really, it has nothing to do with being protective. I've highlighted that some of the things that a guy will do when he's being overprotective are not healthy. They really aren't. And some of them, it is genuinely worth considering whether you're safe in the relationship that you're in. But I'm going to be assuming that he's not actually a bad guy and that you do want to try and salvage this relationship. But it's important that your boundaries are maintained. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing is that it's important to have an open and honest conversation with him. Talk to him, but also listen to him. A lot of a guy's overprotectiveness is going to come from his insecurities. When we talk about him feeling jealous of all of your male friends, that's because he doesn't fundamentally feel that he deserves you, or he feels afraid in some way. The point of that conversation is to give him the space to open up about how he feels. It's to try and understand each other's perspective. And he needs to understand that you don't see what he's doing as protective. And he needs to understand that, but you need to understand his motivations. And that may be all you need to do. Sometimes just having an open conversation about this is enough for him to feel heard and cared about, and then he'll just start to chill out. That's the ideal solution. Often it doesn't work that way. But don't worry, we've got more tips. The next thing to say is that you need to have your own boundaries and you need to be really clear about those. Again, it's easy to say, hey, have boundaries. If setting and enforcing boundaries was easy, I wouldn't be giving it out as advice so often because you guys would already be doing it. It's not easy, I know. But when you're in a relationship, it's important to remember that some things are you things and some things are relationship things and some things are him things. But you can compromise on the things that are relationship things. You shouldn't necessarily compromise on things that are you things. So, for example, having your own group of friends, you get to choose that. He has absolutely no right to input on who your friends are. The only way that he gets any say in who your friends are is if you choose to give him that say. It's not automatic. He doesn't just have it on the basis that you're in a relationship. On the other hand, whether you are exclusive or not, whether you're allowed to kiss your male friends, that's definitely a relationship thing. That one, yeah, you're going to have to compromise on that. Chances are you probably agree on that. Most couples do, but that is something that is relationship based. That's something where it's okay to compromise and it's important that you do compromise. Where you're looking at the things that he's asking for, it's helpful to think, is this a me thing or is this an us thing? And if the answer is it's an us thing, it's not a good time to compromise. So when I was talking earlier about how he might ask you to message him when you get to work, when you leave work, and when you arrive home, is that really an us thing? I would argue not. That's not a relationship thing. That's not part of us as a relationship. That's me. That's all about me. That's my decision. And if I want to do that, I can, but I certainly shouldn't be pressured into it. And I shouldn't feel that that is an area that I have to compromise because compromise is good. Compromise is good in a relationship. Compromise is important in a relationship, but only on the us things. The next tip is that it can be really helpful to encourage him to get to know people he might be jealous of. Quite often, if a guy doesn't know your male friends or some of the men that are around you, he will create this image of them where they want the same things he does. He sees them as a little bit like himself, and he wants you. So it's easy for him to imagine a dynamic whereby they're interested in you and you already have a close bond with these people. They're your friends. The more he gets to know them as individuals, the more he will see what they want and who they are. And it gives him the opportunity to learn to trust them. It's much, much easier to trust a real person than some imagined threat in your mind. So giving him low pressure opportunities to get to know the people that he's jealous of can be really, really helpful. Another really important thing that you can do to help prevent your guy being overprotective is to give him plenty of love and reassurance without compromising your boundaries. And be careful. Because when you start reassuring someone and giving them that extra love and going that extra mile to make sure that they feel comfortable with what's going on, it's very easy to get your boundaries pushed. It's very easy for them to decide to just try and push a little bit more because you're already heading in that direction. So that's fine. Just be a little bit alert to that. But generally, showing him that extra bit of love, giving him that extra bit of reassurance, being really explicit about, I love you. Here are the things I love about you. Here are the things that you do for me that no one's ever done before. Here's how you make me feel. Hearing that can help him feel that he can safely pull back without losing you. And sometimes he may feel stuck being overprotective because he thinks that you expect that of him. Remember that you can help him with his insecurities, but you cannot fix him. Fixing him is not your job, and you do not have to do that. Any of the tips that we're talking about today, you don't have to do them. This is not something you owe him. You have the right to your autonomy no matter what he thinks. You carrying out any of these tips, you trying them out, that's a gift you're giving him. So again, don't feel you have to, and don't try and take responsibility for fixing him. One of the last things I'd like to say about how to deal with an overprotective boyfriend is that I see an awful lot of advice online suggesting that you should somehow punish him or use reverse psychology by being jealous at him and trying to be controlling and as demanding and overprotective of him, and then he'll somehow see the error of his ways and you'll fall back into a happy ever after relationship. Oh boy. Please don't do that. Never, ever, ever. It is not going to work. He's going to be better at it. He naturally feels this way. You're having to work at it. He is going to have more stamina. He's going to be able to be more overprotective than you are. And so you're always going to be playing catch up. You're also not going to be having very much fun because it's really uncomfortable being the jealous, clingy, overprotective one. The next thing that's going to happen is that you're telling him that this is an okay way to be in your relationship. He will feel more vindicated and more justified, and it makes it a lot harder to have the open and honest conversations that you need to discuss how you can actually have a healthy relationship going forward. And the final thing is, he might really like it. And what do you do then? You have backed yourself into a corner, and there is no way out other than to say, yes, I was trying to manipulate you and it failed dismally. That's not a conversation you ever want to put yourself in the position of having to have. It's embarrassing, it's awkward, and yeah, you're better off just dealing with the situation honestly and openly from the start. As always, the final tip has to be to know the point at which you're going to walk away. There will come a point where a guy's overprotectiveness, as he's putting it, or potentially abusiveness, you decide that that's not okay. And if you decide that that's not okay, it is acceptable to walk away. It's not worth letting yourself get guilt-tripped into staying with someone because, oh, I'm just trying to protect you. No, he is just trying to control you. And if you decide that he does not have authority over an area of your life, then he does not have authority over that area of your life. And that is the end of it. You can always walk away if you decide that that's what's in your best interests. All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that video and it gave you some new ways to think about how to deal with an overprotective boyfriend. If you have stories of how you dealt with an overprotective boyfriend, I'd love to hear them. If you did try the reverse psychology, did it work? How did it go? Sometimes I accept you might get a good outcome. I still don't think it's a particularly healthy way of dealing with it, but I'd love to hear your stories. Let me know in the comments. And as always, do like and subscribe.